Today we're going to be putting an auto start in a Nissan NV 3500. First we got to test out, see if it has a mobilizer. That's going to deter whether or not we have a security system in the van. We're going to put some tin foil over this key, which is going to block any radio waves to get to the truck. Get it started, so that means it does not have any mobilizer in it. We're going to check and see if it has an alarm by locking the door and shutting it off. Just letting it sit. Now we put it right at the bench, get all the wires ready to go. Take the dash apart, put the antenna up, and then run a hood switch out. Mount the hood switch.
I am doing the pre-wire of the auto start right now, and what this is getting the correct wires left behind for the install, so you know when you're completed, once you use all the wires up, all the wires have been installed. So it eliminates the chance of forgetting a wire.
Got to take the under dash down to expose the key cylinder, and then we're going to get to this the driver's side kick panel right here, and that's going to give us access to the lock wires. There's a disarm wire in there, and then the parking light wires is going to be behind this panel as well, so we need to access all those different wires. We have to release this hood lever so we can take this whole panel out so we can get access to the wires. We are mounting the antenna, which is going to go up on the windshield next to this driver's side pillar, and that gives us the best possible range that we can get. Some people will put it up here in the dot matrix, and you're going to lose range putting it into that spot. We're just going to hide the wire behind this, make it look nice and clean. We want to be able to access this because different times when we're programming it, we'll just remove that plug, pop it into our programmer, and then we can change certain settings, run time. Most of the stuff we can do without ever taking the dash back apart. And then we do that as part of the prep work, and then we just set it aside until the auto start's finished. This is the pre-wired auto start. So then we have a mess of wires here. You know, we'll hang this up somewhere underneath in a nice spot where it can't get pinched or cut by any of the sharp metal. And then one by one, we'll just kind of pick through the wires. All the big ones are going to go to the key cylinder, and then these smaller ones are going to go over into our passenger or our driver's side little panel here to get our locks and our parking lights and our brake wire. And then from there we'll zip tie everything up, make it look nice and pretty, which takes a little bit. And then after that we can program in our remote kit, which goes here after we plug in the antenna, and then we'll program it and see if she works. Alright, so now that we have that zip tied in place, we're going to take these wires here, these larger ones. These are all going to go to our key cylinder, which is just up here in a minute. I'll take that down. So this is going to be like your ignition wires, your accessory wires, power wire, and the ones that are twisted together. All the ones twisted together are going to go to the same plug, so you don't have a bunch of random snaked wires kind of jangled in there. It's going to look nice and clean, and you can zip tie it nicely, and you know that all three of these are going to the exact same space, rather than, like I said, having a bunch of stuff just kind of twisted and snaked over. It's a cleaner presentation, it's a cleaner install. You have less chance of, if you do have an issue with the install, you can go through and say, hey, this is eliminated right away, and you can look for these stragglers, or see if something's pinched or not right away. This is our ignition harness that we're going to put all these big wires into. Our ignition, our starter, and our accessory wires are all going to be plugged in way up here in that tiny little harness. This is where we get all of our wire colors so that we know exactly. You don't want to just start pumping, putting random wires on random wires, because then you're going to start, frying computers and
nothing else is a good guideline. You
right.
Still want to test the wires to verify that they are correct, but it's a good guideline to start on.
Right. I mean, this one per se, we're not really tapping into any data wires, but if you start plugging weird wires into the BCM or something, it doesn't take long to start frying stuff. This is a soldering iron. So that's how we put all of our connections together. We don't use crimp-ons or any plastic stuff like that, or twist and poke. We just strip back a little bit of insulation on the wire, twist it around, solder it right on, so it's a good solid connection, and you don't have to worry about your car jumping around and doing anything funky. So the only way to get this off is to just cut everything out and redo it. A crimp-on, you can pull the wires out, or they can corrode and do anything weird like that. Finishing up the ignition plug. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to clean it up a little bit and make sure everything's nice and clean. Plug it back in. And then here we are. These are all the wires going up there. So then later on we'll put some tape on it, zip tie it over to the side so it can't get kicked or get caught in the steering or anything like that. And then from there, we're going to move on to the rest of the wires.
Okay, the reason we do soldering is that other companies use Scotch locks, crimp-ons, things like that, and with the hot and cold weather, they'll expand and contract and sometimes lose connection, especially on like data wires now. They're extremely sensitive to different ohm levels and different levels of voltage, and if you have too much or not enough resistance on it, it'll affect it. So soldering is the best method. You're essentially fusing the new wire to the wire you're hooking into.
So right now, we can go into our little cheat sheet here and figure out the wire colors, or we can just go to the plug, hook on our multimeter here, and then it'll tell you exactly which wires it's going to be by testing each lock, the lock and unlock, and then the disarm wire. I'm going to start with the lock wire.
That's also a good idea just to verify the wire, because sometimes the wiring information, the schematics could be wrong. So it's always best to test the wire to have a verification of it before you just go tapping in the colored wires.
So you can see I have it on the lock wire right now, and when you hit the lock button, it goes to a negative reading, which shows that that is the correct lock wire. So then I'll tap on my lock wire, and then I'll test out the unlock and then the disarm wire after that. Right now we're punching a hood switch wire, and then this yellow and black one here is our tack wire. So we're going to hook that up to one of the injectors over on the engine here, and that's going to give us our engine speed so that it'll let the auto start run properly. Right now we're going to start cleaning up this install, make sure all the wires are zip tied nicely. We're going to kind of present it a little bit better, so like I said before, nothing's going to get caught or kicked. And then if another person has to get in here, they don't have to get their hands through a web of wires. It's just going to look nice and clean, presentable.
The other thing that's important with it too is if this goes to like another shop, like say another Nissan dealership, and we do poor work and it looks like a rat's nest in there, it's gonna look like we're incompetent in what we're doing, and right away we'd be the first to blame if there's an electrical problem. Where if everything's neat and cleanly done, then it kind of reflects on our professionalism as well.
Yep, I'm gonna put this little bracket back on. So the tack wire is this last yellow and black wire. This one's the one that's going to read the engine speed. So we have to find one of the injectors and then find the non-common wire on there and tap into that wire. And then string it back, make it look all nice and pretty like this wire, and then that's a wrap. Alright, so we just finished this auto start on the Nissan NV 3500. I'm going to start it up here, just make sure that everything works out really nice. So when the third light flashes, it's going to start up for us. Just like that. There we have it. Auto start works good. Thank you guys for watching. If you have any questions or you need any accessories, feel free to give us a call.